close, then you can get started. Fold down the other side, and then you flat.
I was fascinated to hear about this activity. I knew nothing about it before seeing the film. What set this film apart for me was getting to know the individual students, about their ups, their downs, their relationships with family, friends, and school challenges. I love the intimate scenes of many of them in their homes, and the interesting footage in rehearsals and in performances. The soundtrack was varied and appropriate. This film was quite moving at times, given their progress was completely interrupted by COVID. It made the film like a real study in time.
I think that there's a lot of things that felt really intricate and really well placed. I think the narrative storytelling is really smartly done because originally I thought it was a documentary about the color guard, which again I would be very interested in. I didn't know a lot about the color guard, but then they use the color guard as a way to dive deeper into the lives of these women and or these teenagers, and it's really fascinating to see how that group is like a microcosm of their experience in high school. I love how even though we lived through it, I didn't really see the pandemic coming, and I they were so excited for the national competition and the countdown to the national competition. It never really occurred to me as a viewer what was coming and what was going to kind of take away that experience for them. And so I think the way it's structured is really smart because you're just as surprised and as heartbroken as the girls are, even though you know what's coming. And so kind of watching how vibrant and excitable and outgoing and all of these really beautiful things that these girls had when they were congregating together in the school, and the structure of when we split to quarantine and we get a lot more selfie videos and a lot of videos that they take themselves, and you definitely see the changing in them, not just as athletes but like as young women, and watch their growth, what feels like in real time as you see how being isolated and being away from one another, it changes the trajectory of their lives. And so I thought the documentary did a beautiful job of illustrating that through these conversations with these young women.
I think that the way that you're sort of marrying this narrative that's about color guard and sort of goes into some of the technical aspects of it and, really highlights the performance and everything is like this one storyline that you have going along it's really, really informative and really great. And like as a former marching band kid, I feel like you're really getting it pretty spot on. And then I feel like you have this second storyline that is married to it really beautifully of just these kids and their lives in their community and just sort of how they weave this into these really, really full lives that they have, full of aspirations and trials and difficulties and interpersonal strife. And I think that's all coming together really, really beautifully.
The focus was on color guard, but the real focus was on the team and the members of the team and their lives throughout this time that they're in the program. I loved that this documentary focused on each of their individual lives and each perspective, how they saw the group, how they conduct themselves in their own personal lives, what their aspirations are. So we really got a good sense of who each of these girls were. I loved that we had a big emphasis on female friendship in this, because I think that's so important. There was, some team drama and everything, but overall it was empowering each other and lifting each other up. So I love the message there about, just the sisterhood and seeing how powerful that is to have that and have that outlet with your sisters to express yourself. I thought this documentary did a great job with the emotional notes in this, especially with the shooting and everything that having to do with that and how they handled that and brought it into their color guard. I thought that was cool how they did that and how important it was to show their strength in that moment, especially since it was an attack on Latinos. Just seeing all these powerful Latino women expressing that in their color guard was really cool to see, expressing themselves as guardian angels of those who were affected by this. So those emotional notes were played out really well, really heartbreaking, especially their huddle at the memorial brought tears to my eyes.
So it was really interesting to kind of see and get an inside look at how a season goes and what goes into it and the kind of the different components of Colorguard and what it means to these like girls that are competing in it. Really kind of beautiful to watch because it was raw. It wasn't a good journey for everybody. It was hard. It changed them. And like I said, just seeing kind of how in the beginning being in guard really, really helped. And then during the pandemic, how not being in school, not being in guard, not being able to compete, how that affected everybody, not even just the kids, but also the coordinators and everything like that. So I really loved it. I thought it was really, really well done.
You could tell it was more than just the activity. It was more about these high schoolers and just looking into their lives and just how much was going on outside of that as well. They were dealing with that. They were dealing with high school issues. They were also dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of discrimination. Some of them were in a very scary situation that they had to deal with while doing these extracurricular activities, which that in and of itself was ample enough material to make me forget that 2020 was right around the corner. And the moment I saw 2020, I realized, oh no, the pandemic is coming. During the pandemic was you had your normal life. You didn't think much of it, but then when you're left with nothing but time, you realize how much of your time you had spent doing other things, and then you had time to pick up new hobbies. I feel like a lot of us are now having this new issue where you have to merge your original life with the new hobbies you picked up during the pandemic, and you have to like blend them together. Time is a weird conundrum, but this was a very impactful documentary, and I was very intrigued to learn more about both their passion, their hobbies, and just their lives, because high school is a lot.